Welcome to Insight Builder channel, large language model automators, Python experts, and my dear friends. If you guys have the question, can you tell me how AI agents get access to internet data? This video, we are going to discuss that very question. We are going to deep dive into a service called as Tavily. Let's move forward. First of all, the idea of getting access to the internet data and the agents, how they are involved, came from researching the GPT researcher. So in this series of playlist videos that you have seen, I've been researching agents, and the agents, the large language models, getting all automated with the help of agents. It requires the data from the internet, and GPT researcher has in one of the ways to get the data, and we will be diving into that. It uses the scraper class that is built into researcher, GPT researcher. Apart from that, there is a service called as Tavily. This service is also linked with GPT researcher developers, and this service you can actually get access to it by going to tavily.com. So if you go to app.tavily.com and sign in, just click on the sign in, and you will be given access to your own account and also 1,000 requests to the Tavily API background. So you'll be given the API key, and you can configure it and start using the researcher. So I'll be diving into the SDKs of Tavily also in this discussion. Let's move forward. And then we have Tavily and Langchain. So the same Tavily service is already linked with Langchain through Tavily search results and Tavily search API retriever. And also there is a Tavily agent also, which in my case, when I'm trying to execute, it's not working properly. Probably it's because of some breaking changes in Langchain. But rest of the things are quite cool in this. Here you can see that in case of GPT researcher, we will first dive into GPT researcher right away. If you go to the GPT researcher _td.py, this is the example script that is present in GPT researcher repo, as well as the example that I'm showing in one of my earlier videos. So if you follow the GPT researcher class or the object here, you will end up in scraper.py. Scraper.py is part of GPT researcher GitHub repo, and in the scraper.py module, you will see the class scraper. I'm going to zoom in a bit, and this particular class scraper does work with various Langchain modules like PyMu PDF loader, arxiv retriever, and also Beautiful Soup. So Beautiful Soup is from BS4, the website scraping library. So I will just briefly go through this. If you look at the scraper methods, the scrapers method, you can see it's extracting data from the link, which is directly trying to check the link whether it can be extracted from PyMu PDF or arxiv or from using Beautiful Soup. And the methods, if you scroll down, you can see that the respective methods are connecting with the Beautiful Soup in case of scrape text with Beautiful Soup, and it's extracting the data. You can go through this logic. I'm just going through the entire options that is available, so that you can try to use these functions if you are trying to extract data from the internet. You can use scrape PDF with PyMu PDF. So this PDF loader is used directly with the URL, and you can also scrape the data from the arxiv papers. There also you are directly loading the data from the URL. So you don't need to, you are actually loading the data along with the query and the number of pages that it can take. So these things you can work. And finally we have get content from URL, where the setup, the steps are done one by one, where the Beautiful Soup is being used, the find all tags is executed. In that, all the tags from P, H1, H2, H3, H4 and H5, all these tags along with the paragraph tag is used and extracted, and that has been converted to text. So this is one of the ways that the agents are getting access to the internet data. Now let us go back to the discussion. Here we discussed about the GPT researcher's scraper options. Now let us go to Tavily. So in case of Tavily SDK, there are three major functions. One is search, another is search context, and another is Q&A search. So let me actually run this script here. So Tavily SDK, the link for this script will be shared with you guys. It's there in the GitHub repo. And here this link is using the Tavily API key, and I'm starting a Tavily client. So this Tavily, you have to install the Python SDK. So if you go back here and if you look at the documentation, you will be able to understand how you can install the Python SDK. It's as simple as, doing a pip install of Tavily Python, and once you are done that, you will be able to get access to Tavily client. You need to give the API key to the Tavily client. After that, you can get access to its methods. So Tavily is the object from the Tavily client class, and it has three methods, major methods. One is search, another is get search context, and the third is Q&A search. The main difference is the output that you get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute one of the queries, and let us see what kind of output we get on each of these types of methods that is available in the Tavily object. So here what happens is you are going to give a question. You can ask the question, and then you can choose the option that we are going to use, whether you are going to use the search, whether you're going to use the context, that is search context, or whether you're going to use the Q&A. Both of these things we need to provide. I have just created this script so that these things can be tested directly. And one more important point is that anything that is getting searched, I am also trying to save it in a file. So you can see that I'm dumping the data into the JSON file. If you don't need it, actually you don't need to dump it also. It's not required. But you can actually look at the output here. All the dumps that you see here will be saved, and it will also be present in the same location where you will find this Tavily SDK. Let's move forward and execute this file. Exploring Grok CLS. Let us execute Python Tavily SDK. And the moment I execute, it will ask me the question. So I'm going to say, how many moons does Jupiter have? And once I ask this question, it will ask me what I want to do. So I'm going to use the search option to begin with in the first call. So let us see what happens. And here you see that it is giving me the various search that it has done. So it provides me the first of all, it actually reiterates the question, and then it starts printing the URL and the content. So if you go back here, you will see that it provides the title, it provides the URL and the content. So that is how the data is provided here. This data will be much more clearer if I open the JSON file. So let me do that. So here you are seeing the dumped JSON that I retrieved right now. So this is the question, how many moons does Jupiter have? And you can see the various results that the Tavily has responded with. So how many moon does Jupiter have, the names, location, and the numbers. All this you can get it from this particular website along with the content. Again, the title along with the content from Wikipedia. We have the data from science.nasa.gov. Again, one more from science.nasa.gov and britannica.com. So this is how the Tavily search method works. Now, next, what we are going to do is we are going to use the same Python script, and this time what we are going to do is we are going to ask the same question but to a different method. So I'm going to ask the same question here. I'm just copying it and pasting it here, and this time I'm going to ask the context. So I'm extracting the context of whatever I want to learn about. So you can see here the same, if you go back here, the content that you're finding here in these content keys will be same in the content that you're getting here, but the difference is it is purely text. So what happens is this entire text, you can see that it is actually in the JSON format, but now it is purely text. It's not in the JSON structure, and you can send this directly into the large language model. So that's how the context is created. And finally, we have the Q&A. So I am going to ask the same question again, but this time I'm going to choose the Q&A option. Once I use the Q&A option, you will get a crisp answer that, okay, what is the based on the latest information available, Jupiter has over 100 moons. So this is a direct answer that you get from using the Q&A. This is how there are three different ways of trying to get the data from the internet, and that is through Tavily, right? But now if you go back, we were discussing that you can do it through GPT's researcher's scraper. So you might be wondering that this data that we are getting from this scraper and the Tavily looks very similar. So which one to use? See, it depends on the level of service that you require, or level of accuracy and level of depth you require. Tavily has a very good service, and they have in the backend they take care of the scraping for you and providing the data to you. So Tavily service has its own benefits, and also it integrates with Langchain. So those are the two major benefits. You can actually make GPT researcher also to integrate with Langchain. It's not much of a issue, but still Langchain has already done it for you, so why to lose that opportunity? So here in case of Langchain, you have Tavily search results and Tavily search API retriever. In these cases, what will happen is the output that you are going to get will be in the form of Langchain's document. So let us right now go back and start executing the Langchain data. So let me close these files because it's taking up the space, and let me go to Tavily Langchain. So this file also will be shared with you guys. In order to get this Tavily Langchain working, you can go to this document link that has been provided. That will provide you how to do the installation of Tavily Langchain. So you have to install a separate library for this. So ensure that you have done that, and then only you will be able to import Tavily search API wrapper and all these functions that is following: search results, Tavily answers, etc. Now you can see here that I am going to Langchain community here, into tools, into Tavily search, and from Tavily search I'm getting these classes, and from the utilities which is already present inside Langchain, I'm getting the Tavily search API wrapper. So there are various confusions when it comes to where a particular class is available inside Langchain. So it comes with a lot of practice and literally going through the idea. For an example, why Tavily search is inside utilities, or why the community tools has Tavily search. So once you consciously think about the modules and or the folders which has the modules and with the modules that has the classes, then you will be able to come up intuitively that okay, inside Langchain community there will be tools, and inside tools there will be various other tools including Tavily search. So this is one of the reasons why I'm sharing these things step by step. Here again I am using a couple of API keys here. I am also using OpenAI API keys, and also I'm using Tavily search API key. I'm using OpenAI's GPT 3.5 Turbo because I am also trying to get the data from the Tavily API, and I am going to get some answers that is getting that I want to get answered. So here is a query, and I'm going to use the same question that I asked earlier. And in the case of agent chain that I was trying, so I had tried to create an agent chain with the Tavily tool. However, it failed due to some of the errors. But the point was that I was able to get the document data. So that's what we are going to see next. So what I'm going to show right now is that we'll be using Tavily search results, and we'll be using the Tavily retriever. So both of these options we will be using right now. So let us start. Let me zoom out a bit. So you see, just a second. So here you can see the data that is coming from the Tavily retriever. I have actually commented it out. So right now I will first of all execute the Tavily search results, and we will see how the output is getting created. So let me execute this file, Tavily Langchain, Python Tavily Langchain, and I am going to execute that. It's going to ask me for the query, and then just a second. So it is asking me for the query. I'm going to paste the query, the same thing that I tried it with the Tavily SDK. I'm going to ask how many moons does Jupiter have, and this time I am going to use the Tavily just search. So I want you guys to look at the output also. Output will contain the URL following with the content, right? So let us go back. There was a crash in my terminal, so let me review that again. So I'm going to go into CD, code, projects, and exploring Grok. I'll be discussing about Grok after some time. Python, Tavily Langchain, execute. Let me scroll it up a bit. It's taking a bit of a time because I have been loading a lot of agent related modules from the morning today. Let me execute that and let us see how's the output. So you can see that it is giving the output in the format of documents, and it is also having a lot of information here. Everything I'm printing it out here, I'm not saving it, so you can see the URL, and following that you can see the content. It's a list of the JSONs or dictionaries, if you like to call it, and you can see that it is getting a lot of data from there. But it's not actually answering the question. It's actually getting the context only. So you can see that this is a separate JSON, and the new JSON is getting started from here along with the content and the URL. That is how the data is getting collected. So now next what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to uncomment the Tavily retriever. Let me go up and let me show you how the Tavily retriever works, and that should, I don't know, give you some clarity. I'm going to remove this particular 2 lines. It's very simple series of code. Only thing, the number of lines in the script looks a little bigger because of the results and the comments that I've added there. So the query is going to be same. I'm going to execute it again, and let the query the query input request come up, and we will give the query input in a second. There we go. We are giving the query input, and it goes into Tavily retriever, and you'll see that this time it actually gives an additional information of score, and also it is giving it in the document format. So basically this kind of a retrieval, it is giving you in a proper document format that you can, along with the metadata, that you can actually place it inside the embedding database. So if you have a Chroma database, and if you want to take this search result, directly push it into the Chroma database or any of the embedding database, it can be done. So it has been formatted in that way. These are the points I wanted to highlight. You don't need to do it manually. It's already done for you. See, the idea of sharing all this knowledge is that there are sometimes things you don't need to do it yourself. It's already done. You can actually use it, and most importantly, give a credit to the developer who has already developed it. Langchain is one of the thriving communities. You can see a lot of development happening in that community. It has been quite some time since I covered Langchain, but the development with respect to these kinds of services is becoming very predominant. So do take a look at it and see whether you can use it in your applications. Even in regular applications, you don't need to develop large language model related stuff. Even in regular application, if you are trying to create some kind of a search related activity in without large language models, still you can use Tavily. So do try that out. And just to give a recap, we discussed about the GPT researcher scraper. In the beginning, we saw how the class has various methods to get the data, uses beautiful soup as well as various PDF readers to get the data. We went into Tavily.com's service, and we saw how 3 different kinds of output we can get from Tavily API, and we also saw how to get the API key and use its Tavily SDK. And finally, we discussed about Tavily at Langchain. So the classes that we discussed are these 2 classes, and we tried to look at the outputs from these 2 classes, how you can actually use it in various applications. So I believe that in this discussion you have had some good introduction about how the agents can get access to the internet data. as you already saw, the data that is coming out of these kinds of scrapers and the Tavily classes, it's all geared towards making the data ready to become the context of the large language models. So I believe that you learned a thing or two from this discussion. Do leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, do leave a comment out. With that said, I would like to leave this video with 4 words, that is practice, practice, explore, explore. See you guys. Have a great time.